Bit of a change of topic from the Season of the Deep stuff I've been discussing lately on the channel, especially with the dungeon, because that is just a whole new debacle. But it's to do with the playtesting side of Bungie, because it seems literally non-existent. From making dungeon bosses with stupid amounts of health, to making raid bosses who pose no challenge whatsoever, Bungie just can't seem to hit the nail on the head. And in all seriousness, I actually think Bungie does playtest this stuff behind closed doors, but honestly, I think they need to roll it out to the general players, because for all their private testing and Bungie summits, it doesn't yield enough reward for the players to actually benefit. And what I'm proposing is that Bungie makes a test server, much like PlanetSide. I know it's a really weird comparison, but it's one I remember quite fondly because it allows players to test new features before they come out in the game without giving away too much of what's going on. I'm sure you could probably think of numerous other examples for this, but playtest servers obviously yield really good results because it allows players to test it in the most wacky ways, which can only benefit Bungie if they decide to do it. And when I say this, I don't mean they're going to be playing the seasonal content early, because that is just going to spoil it for everybody, and the only way you could circumvent that is if Bungie issued NDAs to literally everybody, which I'm going to be honest, if everyone decided to upload content of a playtest server, I guarantee Bungie would not be able to hunt them all down. But what you could do instead, Bungie could just create something custom. So let's take, for example, a new seasonal activity is coming out. They could make a different type of seasonal activity that just has the same mechanics of it. So taking the concept of salvage and the deep dives that we have in the current season, Bungie can hypothetically make a similar looking map on somewhere like Mars with not a lot of detail because it's a playtest. Specifically for salvage, you could have the task differently, but only if the coding was the same kind of setup as the real coding. This way it allows Bungie to see if the code works perfectly fine and nobody can exploit it in any way. For new raids and dungeons, when it comes to things like damage testing, you could literally just take a previous raid or dungeon and just put it in with the same numbers. So for example, if you wanted to test Root of Nightmares when it came to Nezarec's boss health, you could literally take Atheon and put 12.9 million health on it and see how players do against it. That way, if they're beating it in 2 phases, you'll know that they actually need to buff the health up a bit. Another added benefit to this as well is Bungie can actually test features that aren't going to be in the game anyway. So let's say they have a bizarre idea like what I've been asking for absolutely ages, which is Sparrow tuning, where you can actually tweak your Sparrow to do whatever you want it to. Whether it's changing the trail a bit or the skin, and even changing the engine speed, this would be a perfect sandbox for Bungie to test it in, because nobody's expecting it to be a finished game because it's literally a playtest server. And not only that, it allows players to enjoy this stuff without breaking the immersion from the actual game itself. But then if Bungie all of a sudden decide that they don't want to put something in the game, then no harm, no foul, they can remove it from the playtest server and just declare that it's not going to be in the game. But what do you think about this playtest server idea? Because it's something quite interesting to think about, and the amount of benefits it would give Bungie, they just seem to be all positive in my eyes. The only kind of downside to this I could see is if Bungie aren't careful, they could accidentally leak features that are going to be in the next season. Because let's be honest, if it's a public playtest server, I guarantee you there's going to be hundreds of creators playing it anyway. And all it takes is that one viral clip to go nuts and everybody's going to know what's going on in the next season, and that is pretty much that season down the drain. But I still think it's actually more benefit than reward, but I would like to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. But that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video.